It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant pride.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live here on Giants.com. It's presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. I'm Paul Dottino at Giants WFAN. He's Matt Citak at Matt Citak. That's pretty easy. And we'll be here for the next hour to take your phone calls and talk Giants football at 201-939-4513. As always, if you don't catch the show live, and we're starting at a very special 2 o'clock Eastern time today because of day one of minicamp. You can always catch us on the Giants Archive, the Giants mobile app, your podcast platforms everywhere, and at giants.com/podcasts. This was day one of the mandatory minicamp, which means all signed players either have to be here or have an excuse not to be here. The bottom line for the Giants is that the only unsigned player, and he's out there on the practice field not doing anything, is Cam Scatterbo. He's the only guy who's not signed, but he did sign his waiver to be here so he could get a shirt on and to be on the practice field. He's just not doing any specific drills. So the attendance is very good, as per head coach Brian Daboll. And yes, we did see Malik Neighbors come out and get into the huddle and listen to some plays, although he didn't actually run any.
No, but he's been doing that.
He's been doing that now for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, he has not been participating in team drills, but he acts as if he is, like going in the huddle, and then as soon as they break the huddle, then he goes back with the coaches behind the play.
Now, I bring that up only because, you know, the outside media has not been here very often, and they keep asking about him. They made a very big deal out of it earlier today. You should have heard them in their little group. Oh, they didn't see Neighbors. Well, all of a sudden, a few minutes later, Neighbors comes walking out with a helmet and a jersey and gets into the huddle. So that kind of spoiled that little storyline. But in any event, yes, Malik Neighbors continues to rehab and continues to progress. And in fact, Brian Daboll was asked about any of the injured players being a long-term concern. He didn't seem to show any. This is the same answer he's been giving us now for a few weeks. And Carmen Brasillo was grilled, quite honestly, about Andrew Thomas. We'll get to the plays in a moment, but Brasillo was grilled about Andrew Thomas, and at first he said, no, it's nothing long-term. I'm not worried about him, but then he said, you better ask the coach. So I don't think there are any red flags injury-wise, even if some guys are pulled back at the beginning of training camp, which you never can tell. That's always possible. I don't get the impression that this team has any major concerns about the rehab guys. I just don't.
No. I mean, again, like we spoke about yesterday, the only one that we just have no idea about is Victor Dimukeje.
Right.
Because that was something that happened throughout the last couple months.
I'm kind of not counting on him.
Yeah, same here. But, yeah, I mean, the other guys, look, it's June 17th. The team is about to break for 5 weeks, and then training camp starts. And we all know the goal is to have everyone healthy and ready to go for week one. Mm-hmm. You don't need Malik Neighbors out there running every team drill in June for him to be ready come week one. You just don't. We saw what he did last year as a rookie. He'll be okay. As long as he's on the field at some point during training camp, which all signs seem to point towards that happening, there's no cause for concern. And the same thing goes for Andrew Thomas. Right now, all we could go off of is what Coach Daboll, Brasillo, what those guys have been saying. And until they start talking as if they're overly concerned about his availability for the start of the season, until that happens, I'm going to assume that he's going to be ready, at some point. As you said, it may not be day one of training camp he's just full go, because they're still going to be cautious with all of these guys.
No
Malik,
doubt.
Andrew Thomas, Dexter Lawrence. I mean, Dex has been out here but not really participating in team drills either. They're going to be cautious, especially when it comes to the best players. There's no reason to rush these guys and have them come back before they are 1,000% healthy and ready to go. There's just no reason for it this time of year.
They'll ramp guys up. Yeah. Whoever needs to be involved, they will ramp them up from the beginning of training camp. And by the way, we don't have an official date for that yet. at least that's been released to the media. We kind of know internally. We have a good idea of when it's going to start. It'll be late in July. But Coach Dable was asked, they tried to pin him down today and asked him, do you have the training camp schedule? Do you have the dates? And he said they were kind of ironing out a few details. They weren't set with that yet. I don't know exactly what goes into that, what they're still trying to figure out and what they're still trying to smooth over. Rest assured, if you're thinking of coming to training camp, you don't have to come during the first 2 weeks of July. That much we can tell you.
Yeah, my guess is they don't want to make any training camp announcement until they have the full schedule worked up. And
Sounds right.
I feel like they probably have a pretty good idea what day it's going to be the starting date, but they want to get the entire training camp schedule down, packed, make sure it works with everyone. Coach mentioned there's a lot of people that are involved in these discussions between the trainers, the medical staff, the coaches, front office. Like, everyone is involved to make sure that they come up with the schedule that makes the most sense for everyone and for all departments. Because, again, the goal is just to get everyone ready for week one, that week one game against the Commanders. The goal is to get everyone ready, healthy, good to go for that game. So they're still working out some of the details of exactly how they're going to go about it. But as you mentioned, Paul, training camp starts pretty much the same day every single year.
Figure the 4th week of July. Yeah. And that's about as best as we can narrow it down.
Yeah, just go back and look at when the last couple of years training camp started. It's going to be around the same time around then. So
yeah, give or take a day or two.
Yeah.
All right, so in terms of just setting the table for you, that's what we've got. Now, let's talk about some plays, because there were some plays today. I thought Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston actually had some really nice throws today. Let's start with the 7-on-7s. Dart to Humphrey, made a nice high stab on a play. Wilson had a nice fade to Bo Collins for a touchdown. We've mentioned him before. A lot of fans really dig him. He's a Notre Dame player, and Notre Dame has fans all over the country. So when Bo Collins does well, we seem to get a lot of interest on how he's doing. Well, he continues to do well.
Yeah, and he got some reps with the first-team offense today.
Mm-hmm.
As you mentioned, obviously catching a touchdown pass from Russell Wilson, he's out there with the starters. And he made some plays throughout practice. I mean, he had that play.
He did.
That was, one of his, or probably his best play. But he also caught a pass from Jackson Dart later in 11-on-11s.
Mm-hmm.
And then towards the end, during one of the final, it might have been the final team period, he drew a defensive holding penalty in the end zone. Probably would have been a touchdown, and the only way the defender could stop him is by grabbing him. And the refs in practice here, they've been here throughout the spring. The refs threw a flag, so it would have been, first and goal from inside the 5-yard line. But yeah, Bo Collins he's playing pretty well. And before practice started, Coach Dable said that, there are some of these undrafted wide receiver rookie free agents that have been stepping up and playing well. And
we've talked about it. The room has really been productive.
Yeah, it really has. And it's not just Bo Collins. Dalen Combray also has been playing pretty well. Especially, today he had a great day, but he's been consistent throughout spring.
The last 2 11-on-11 periods, what'd you have him for 4 catches over the last 2 periods, or was it 3?
Well, he had 3 in a row that ended
did.
in the touchdown.
Correct.
And
there was another one.
He had one other one as well, I believe.
So it was 4. I think it was 4.
At least 3.
There was a juggler in the far left corner of the end zone, right along the corner of the end zone. One official called touchdown. The other official said he juggled it incomplete.
I think they ended up ruling it incomplete.
I think so too, but then Fooch from MSG overruled me and said it was a touchdown. I don't know what replay he saw.
He could see it from 100 yards away.
I'm just saying. But yeah, another good day for Cambry for sure. Some other highlighted plays that I had in 11-on-11s. We'll stick with the offense first. I saw Wilson to Robinson on a diving catch down near the goal line. I saw Winston hitting Bellinger with a tightrope that Bellinger had to reach up for and made the stab on the left side down near the goal line. That was a really, really nice throw by Winston. Winston had a couple of completions to Cambry in a row. Camry made a nice stab in the flat on one of them. And I thought Theo Johnson on the fade, which I think was by your corner.
It was the other corner.
The other corner that you were on the right side?
Yeah.
Okay. It was the left side. A fade to the left corner of the end zone. Wilson just dropped it right in the bucket.
I mean, look, we've talked the last month now about, I don't even know how many times, of Russell Wilson just throwing a ball downfield and just dropping it perfectly where only the receiver can catch it. It goes right over the outstretched arm of the defender.
Ridiculous.
Right into the guy's hands. And that's exactly what happened. This was they were lining up around the 25-yard line, and Russell Wilson just dropped it perfectly, and Theo Johnson jumped up or put his hands up, and it fell perfectly into his arms for a touchdown.
It was like a video game throw. It was perfect.
That was probably the best throw of the day. He also had another great throw to Daniel Bellinger.
Yep.
And that was when they were starting closer. I think it was like their own 30-yard line. So it wasn't a touchdown, but Bellinger would have gotten at least 30-yard gain on this throw, if not more.
That was the one in the last period.
Yeah. He would have had, there was only one defender in front of him, which Bellinger, has a chance to break a tackle against any secondary player. But yeah, just another great throw from Russell Wilson. On that Russell Wilson to Wandell one you were mentioning earlier, that was for a touchdown.
Yes.
They did rule it a touchdown on the field.
Rule it. He was right by the goal line.
Yeah. I was across the field but could see, and they ruled it a touchdown.
Okay.
He was in. Right after that, Tomon Fox had back-to-back plays where he had, again, what would have been sacks. We're not going to call them sacks because no one's actually getting hit and coming down, but it got to a point where Coach Dable blew the play dead because Tomon Fox there was no one around him.
Travis Ford had another one too.
Yeah, he did. He did a little bit. Was that, I think, later in practice? Yeah. He got pressure on another play as well, Trace Ford. What else do I have in my notes here? Oh, there was one play. I feel like we say this just about every day, but there was one play where Abdul Carter.
Oh, yeah.
They called hike, and I don't know how he did it. He got into the quarterback's face so quickly. And I know, we've spoken a lot. There's no contact. The offensive linemen are not, fully blocking the guys like they would even in training camp, let alone in a game situation. But I don't even remember which offensive lineman this was, but you could have been full contact, full go, and that lineman would not have had a chance against Abdul on this play. He got back there in a blink of an eye. He was in the quarterback's face.
He's something else.
And I feel like almost every day we talk about at least one play that Abdul Carter does that. And
he
this
moves differently.
He does. And this was a play where he was, I think he was with the second team defense on this play. So he was lined up on the edge.
Was that when he came in to give a spell to Thibodeau?
That I'm not sure.
Okay. Because there was at one point Thibodeau needed a breather and Carter went in.
I don't think
I
don't think he was with the starting defense on this play.
Okay.
And it just goes to show once he's out there and actually lining up with Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau around him, like God only knows how much destruction he can do to opposing offenses. Like I know I don't want to harp on this because we've talked about it a lot, but I don't know how opposing offenses are going to block all four of these guys. If they are all healthy, you can't double team all of them. And just about any of those four, sign me up for a one-on-one matchup for any of them, let alone you're talking, at maximum, maybe you can double team two of those guys. Maybe you're still leaving two of the guys on one-on-one situations. Sign me up for that any day of the week.
And what happens when Bowen decides on a situation like that, I might just send a safety blitz too.
Yeah,
good luck.
Send Tyler Newbin running at the quarterback or Holland.
Good luck.
Sheesh.
Or Phillips from the slot.
Any of them.
What are you going to do? Anyway.
That's why I really cannot wait for training camp and games because I want to see this defense in action. I want to see both sides of the ball, all three sides, because all three sides look like they have taken pretty substantial steps throughout this offseason. Well, but the defense especially, we talking about it yesterday. I feel like it's safe to say if this team is going to succeed in 2025, it's going to be the defense really leading the way. Yeah. They have a chance to be an elite unit, and I just cannot wait to see them actually going out there and going full throttle and against another team. Because I don't want to see, as much as I love seeing Abdul Carter and, our quarterback's faces, I'd rather see him in the face of a quarterback from a different team rather than getting very close to our own guys.
I will only say this. I as much as I've been touting what I expect from the special teams this year, there's nothing we could tell about special teams.
Yeah, although Jude has been making some pretty far kicks.
He's kicked the ball better than I've ever seen him kick the ball before.
Yeah.
Jude McAtamney has really, really done a terrific job this spring because during the voluntary workouts, the veterans, if they've got stuff they're doing on their own, they're working with their own programs, with their own trainers. Graham Gano's been doing this now for, 17 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. They don't need to babysit him to be here for every single workout. So McAtamney has gotten a lot of extra kicks. He's made use of it. He's kicked well.
Yeah, he really has. I agree with you that it's kind of hard to gain anything else from the other special teamers.
We just don't
Training
know.
camp, you can start getting more of an idea because, as we mentioned, once contact is allowed, those kickoff return drills become a little more, real in real life situations. Right now, there's other than Jude making those long kicks, I agree with you. There's not a whole lot you can learn from special teams.
Finally, just a couple of other highlighted plays that I thought wanted to get special attention. Bellinger did catch the touchdown pass we mentioned from Winston earlier, then caught one from Wilson in the final 11-on-11 section of the day. Jackson Dart hitting Smith Morset, who made a really nice stab of a pass play on the left side. Also hit Cambry on a fade at the end. In the last section of practice on a fade to the right corner of the end zone. Again, it looked like one of those Russell Wilson throws. It was right there. I think that was in front of you, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jackson Dart has his share of good plays, too, but I did think Wilson and Winston today had more of the highlighted throws, I think, than Dart did. But Dart threw the ball well today. Tommy DeVito, I didn't have him marked down for any highlighted throws. It was just a regular practice for him. Nothing was spectacular today.
Yeah, he just didn't get that
Didn't
many
get a lot of reps.
He didn't get that many reps today.
And then finally, on defense...
Wait, there's two I'm surprised you didn't talk about this because he's one of your guys.
Go ahead.
Dante Miller made a couple of plays. He caught one touchdown pass from Jameis Winston where he just ran a great route and was completely open with his speed. And then the other one... which this was, I only marked it down because it was a legitimate one.
Yes.
Jameis hit him on a screen that would have been a humongous gain because he had one of his offensive linemen in front of him and only one defender in front of him. And with turbo speed, he would have gained at least 30 yards.
Was that the right sideline one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been at least 30 or 40
That
yards.
would have been a humongous gain.
Yes.
And with his speed and
I know.
elusiveness, who knows? He could have maybe taken it to the house.
But to defend, and I love Turbo, you know that. But to defend, my take on it was they were both easy catches.
That is true.
They were not spectacular catches or spectacular throws, but what he would have done with them would have been really good.
Yes, the second one especially. I mean, the first one,
yes,
I feel like, honestly, any of the running backs probably out there could have.
The second one, he hit into third gear.
Yeah, the second one, and as
great
and as fast as Tyrone Tracy is, I don't think he would have gained as many yards as Turbo. On that play. Like, Turbo in open space.
I agree with that.
Yes,
Turbo.
please.
I'm sorry, I should have highlighted your yak yardage on those two plays, but especially the second one. Then on defense, there were a couple of plays on defense, but by far the number one play was Wilson was picked off by Art Green, who you folks will remember, he was here last year, was on the depth chart, did get some time in some games. Art Green has certainly had some flashes throughout the spring.
I don't want to burst your bubble. They threw a flag on that play.
They did?
It did not count.
I didn't see it.
Yep. And, I mean, there was a reason why the ball kind of went right into Art Green's arms.
Yes.
And the reason was because I believe it was Daniel Bellinger got –
Did he tug
It was
him?
like a obvious hold to a point where I immediately turned to Dan Salamone and John, and I'm like, that was clearly a penalty. And then sure enough, the ref.
See, that was on the far
flag.
side of the field for me.
I
didn't see what did it come from the back judge?
It came from the back judge.
There's no way I could see it.
Like, as Art was running the ball back, Dave's blew the play dead because he saw the penalty.
And by the
as
way,
well.
Art Green took it all the way to the house.
He ignored the whistles and still just kept going.
He was like, forget this. I'm getting that touchdown. I don't care. He may never get another pick six in his life.
True.
He was going to take it.
That's true.
Oh, wow. Okay. Did you get a good look at the pass deflected at the line?
The ball that was batted at the line of
Yes.
scrimmage?
Did you
Yes.
get a good look at that?
I was planning to bring that up.
I couldn't see who it was.
I could, and I'm happy to bring it up. Chauncey Golston, again, tipped it to himself and almost caught an interception, which he had that exact play. It was either last week or the week before.
He's had at least 4
where
in the
he
last
got
week
his
and a
hands
half.
up at the line, batted the ball down, and not even down, just tipped it up to himself.
Yep.
And then caught it for an interception, took it the other way. He came so close to doing it again today.
Very close.
After tipping it, he dove and it went just past his outstretched arms. But it was an incredible play. And again, last year he's coming off a career high 5 pass breakups. And I haven't watched all of his film, but I'm assuming most, if not all 5 of those were on plays like that, where he just
Probably.
with his big, humongous frame got his arms up and just batted the ball down at the line of scrimmage. He's, again, lineman. There's only so much you can learn in the spring, but plays like that, I mean, he's stood out.
And it was close. He just missed getting the pick when
Yeah,
the ball came fluttering down, and he was like,
I thought he was going to have it,
he was
honestly.
extended full throttle trying to grab it, and he just couldn't get it.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But it was a
Okay,
great-
so it was
great
him though
play.
who deflected it.
It was him.
Okay,
And
I could not tell.
There were a couple of other pass breakups throughout
Yes,
practice.
in the secondary.
In the secondary.
Yep. Go ahead.
TJ Moore had one in the end zone
did?
towards the very end of practice.
See, now I thought I saw one of the refs wave a penalty on him.
Not on that play, no. There were a couple of penalties in the end zone today.
TJ Moore,
Bo Collins drew a DPI in the end zone.
Yes.
That was earlier.
Oh,
one of the first 11
offensive.
on 11s.
There was an offensive pass interference too.
There was one, but that was a little bit later. He
Yes.
drew a DPI in the end zone.
Correct.
That was the play I was referencing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And then the defensive holding wiped out the Art Green interception.
Okay.
There was also an offensive pass interference.
On Collins.
Yeah, that was when they were
Correct.
doing the team period from like their own 30-ish yard line.
Yeah, and
he
he
made
just-
a great play, but he did kind of push off.
He shoves the defensive back, and I'm forgetting who it was, shoves him, turns around, does the full spin, and the ball, of course, is now out here, and he's got about 2.5 yards of separation. Well, gee, how'd you get it, Bo? How'd you get it?
And if anyone is, slightly concerned that Malik Neighbors, just because he's not practicing, maybe he's not, fully into it. Malik Neighbors got right up into that ref's face to complain and argue with him about that OPI call. He was fighting for Bo Collins to get that catch. It was pretty clearly a
Yeah, it
penalty.
was.
Even Coach Mike Groh, after originally he was trying to maybe argue with him a little bit, then he kind of shrugged. It was like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right.
Exactly. All right, so that's pretty much the review of what we saw at practice today. It was another indoors practice. The Giants haven't had a ton of those during this spring, but because of the sprinkles earlier this morning, they didn't want to go outside either, because they thought it might rain more, or maybe just because they didn't want to get the grass all wrecked. Because whenever they go out there and practice on the grass and it's too wet and moist, they wind up digging it up. And then Rob Davis, our groundskeeper, gets very upset.
Yes.
He treats his grass very well. So, and I don't blame him. So it looks great. I wish he'd come over and help out with my lawn. My backyard's not in a great shape right now. I got some brown spots. My front lawn looks good, though. I got to mow today when I get home. Yes, I know. The missus has already told me. I got the message. I got to mow. What are you going to do? It just never stops. Anyway, folks, a couple of quick thoughts about the coaches. We did get to hear from Brian Dable today, and we also got to hear from the offensive position coaches. And Mike Groh, in particular, took a heavy grilling about Jalen Hyatt, as we knew he would, because let's face it, Hyatt is in a show-me season. He's had a really good spring. It turns out, depending upon whose number you believe, he's somewhere between 190 and 195 pounds, which is significantly bulkier than what he was. We've talked about him now for the last month, 2 months almost. He's looked great out there. So we see the difference in his physique. We haven't seen him lose any speed or quickness.
No, not at all. And, Darius Slayton, I believe it was last week, said that Jalen Hyatt added 15 to 20 pounds of muscle. And we kind of scoffed a little bit at that because that's just a lot of
a
lot of muscle. But I mean, if we're to believe Coach Groh and that's actually what he weighs, then that 15 to 20 pounds, seems like it'll be an accurate number then.
Yeah.
Because he was, I believe, like around 170.
He was about 170.
70 and change maybe
Yeah.
last year. So, yeah, if that's the case, I mean, again, he looks significantly bigger. His upper body just looks a lot bigger. His arms, his biceps, everything looks bigger. So I guess it's not, that crazy. I mean, you're right. He has not missed a step at all. His
he gets
speed is still
behind
there.
people.
He still outruns the defense anytime basically he gets sent on a deep route. Russell Wilson was talking about him after practice. I mean, he's talked about him
again
throughout since the day he was introduced as a Giant. Russell Wilson has been talking about Jalen Hyatt. Clearly that this veteran quarterback who's been around a lot of very good receivers is impressed with this young man, loves what he can do. Jalen didn't really do anything today. I don't know what happened. He was out there at the beginning. We have no word. Coach Dable, I'm assuming, will mention if there is anything to mention.
For whatever reason,
He'll say
they
something
peeled him
tomorrow.
back a little bit today. That's all.
So
Whatever
we
the
just see
reason.
a lot of these questions on YouTube about what happened with Hyatt. And I know there were these reports going around during practice that he left with some, big injury. I don't know. I was standing next to him on the sideline after he apparently walked off because of this big injury. And I'm not a doctor or a trainer, but I mean, he was there throughout practice, just standing on the sideline with Malik Neighbors. So
See, usually,
I don't think it's anything too much of a
if
cause
a
for
player
concern.
gets a big injury, he gets tended to.
Yeah,
He's not standing
practice.
next to you.
Yeah, very much so. Yes,
Unless you got a doctor's degree that I don't know about.
my dad does, but me not so much.
Okay. Also, we heard today, again, from the offensive assistants, I didn't think there was anything special there that necessarily draws attention unless you got something you wanted to throw out other than Mike Groh, because I thought that was important. He was very complimentary of what Hyatt has done. In fact, the one thing I thought that was the most important, he said he acknowledged Hyatt's work ethic, saying during the offseason you could see that it was time well spent. He came prepared. He is absolutely on a mission, and he is raring to go. Look, that's music to my ears. I've seen it from him before. Now it's time to show me.
Yeah, I mean, look,
So
I expect nothing less, and there's
nor
no
do
one
I.
that's going to deny that going into year 3, this is obviously a big season for him. The first 2
Sure
seasons
is.
have not gone how he or anyone would have hoped they would. Now, that doesn't mean he hasn't had flashes, because Russell Wilson even pointed out a couple of specific plays from his first 2 seasons. Russell Wilson would, because
he did.
So they were the media pressed him about like, well, what have you seen from Jalen Hyatt that makes you so confident in him? And he literally mentioned, he's like, there was this one catch against the Arizona Cardinals, which was the second game of Jalen Hyatt's career, his rookie season, that he caught this like deep pass 40, 50 yards down the field. That was the play, that week 2 game against the Cardinals, that sparked that massive second half comeback for the Giants to come back and win that game. Then he also mentioned, Russell Wilson said there was a play or two, a game at home. I think he was mentioning the Patriots game from that same season where Hyatt had the best overall game of his career, had a couple of catches, 1 or 2 were deep, but then also short intermediate routes, was catching basically everything that was thrown at him. So Russell Wilson has done his, not that I'd expect anything less, but he has done his homework on Jalen Hyatt and every other, playmaker on this offense. And he's genuinely impressed and confident with what he sees from Jalen. And so far this spring, Jalen has backed it up.
Yeah, he certainly has. As far as the players, we heard from Russell Wilson. We heard from Jameis Winston. To be honest, we also heard from Kayvon Thibodeau. Nobody said anything that was outlandish or that surprised me, but I will say Jameis Winston had his first opportunity to come face-to-face with the New York media. He's done Zoom before, but he had never done an in-person type chat with the New York media. Wow, was he impressive. I can't say enough about his presence. I can't say enough about his oratory skills. He commanded the podium. He was quite engaging to listen to. And here's what I will say, folks. What I admired about him the most today when I listened to him, he knows he's been in this league for 10 years. He knows he's had an up and down, inconsistent career. He understands that. He said it doesn't matter where he is on the depth chart in the quarterback room. He's here to lead. He's here to help. He's here to be the best that he can be, to help this team be as good as it can be, and he doesn't care about the number of snaps. He wasn't concerned with his place in the room. That wasn't important to him. He was more concerned with being a guy who fits in and is a good leader and does everything he can to help his teammates. I appreciate that because I think he's aware, right? He's aware of what his career is. He knows what his stat line is. Jameis Winston is selling the Giants himself as a person and as a teammate and as a guy who can add a lot of intangibles. And if you listen to Brian Dable and you listen to Shea Tierney and you listen to Mike Kafka and everybody else on this staff, they'll tell you that's exactly what he's done.
And any of his teammates. Any teammate that has been asked about him, offense or defense, has nothing but rave reviews about Jameis Winston.
They do.
On and off the field.
They do.
And one of the beat reporters even asked him, like, Jameis, does it bother you that at this point of your career, when people describe you, they talk more about, your personality and your like big character at first instead of mentioning you as a football player? And he literally was like, not at all. Like,
yeah,
as you just mentioned, like, he knows what he's done on the football field. He's like, I'm confident in my abilities as a football player and what I have already done and what I feel like I'm capable of still doing. But when I first got into the league, I was not known as someone of good character. People had this perception of me, and I did not like the way that perception was. And so I've worked very hard since that year. So it's been 10 years. He's like, I've worked every year very hard to change that perception of me. And I have. And now I'm, considered this great teammate, good locker room presence. And he basically said, like, I'm honored that is how people describe me. That is what I want, because I know what I can do as a football player. It's this other part that I felt like people misunderstood me for a while, and now they see me for who I am. And that's something, he was like, that's something that I'm truly blessed and grateful for. That's all I want, is for people to see me for me. And he's like, this coaching staff, this team, this roster, they all see me for me. And he's like, that's the greatest feeling.
It's easy to see now why the Giants did sign him to work into this room, because they knew that this room was going to be a mixture of an older guy. I mean, when they signed Winston, they signed him to be the number 2. They knew they were going to sign an older guy to be the number 1, and they also knew they were going to have a young Tommy DeVito in that locker room, and they also knew they were going to have, probably, if they could get one, a rookie quarterback. And he was going to be one of those ingredients to put into the stew to try to make that room better. They knew what they were getting with him. And I give the Giants credit for identifying his intangibles. And this is a guy who was signed, do you remember the running back from Carolina, Stewart?
Jonathan Stewart. Yep.
Okay. When Dave Gettleman signed him, a lot of people were really down on it. And even to this day, people were down on that signing because they look at his stat line. What they don't know is that wasn't the primary reason to sign him. The primary reason he was brought here was to be a big brother to Saquon Barkley, to make sure that when Saquon Barkley got here, he had a mentor. He had somebody to show him the way, someone who was going to help him be a pro, make the adjustment to New York as a superstar. And if you were around Saquon Barkley during his rookie season, you know how much he shadowed Stewart and how much he learned from Stewart. And even years after, when Stewart was gone, Barkley was still talking about the stuff he learned from Stewart. Sometimes, folks, guys are signed for a variety of reasons. It's not just the stat line.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Jameis Winston was signed reportedly for 2 years, not just this one season. And again, the Giants have known all offseason the plan was to hopefully add a rookie in the draft at some point. Obviously, they got the guy they wanted in Jackson Dart, but a month before they were able to draft Jackson Dart, they signed Jameis to this 2-year deal.
They did.
With the mindset of not only will he serve as that veteran presence and backup quarterback, reliable backup this year, but he can also help mentor whatever rookie we end up bringing in, not only this year but the following year. Give whoever that rookie ends up being some stability around him in the quarterback room.
Imagine they didn't know for sure they were going to get a rookie.
Yeah.
So if they didn't, the fact that Winston was signed for 2 years meant that, okay, we're already looking ahead. That if Wilson, for whatever reason, doesn't re-sign after his 1-year deal, because they were thinking that they were going to try to get Wilson or Rodgers. Okay, let's not kid ourselves. But they also had an idea of what that contract was going to be. So by signing Winston to a 2-year deal, they now knew that they were going to have a veteran in the room in 26, even if they couldn't get the right terms or the right veteran to maybe stay as the number 1 guy. That was the insurance policy, to sign Winston to a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
So that shows you what they thought about him. The only other thing that I wanted to mention from the players, and I'll let you take a shot, Kayvon Thibodeau, with tremendous confidence, and by the way, he's bulked up too.
Yeah.
I don't know what his weight is at the moment. Nobody asked him, but he's looking hulky.
He looks big.
He's looking Hulk-like right now. He's insisting that there's no pressure on him. He wants to be the best. He believes he's a double-digit sack guy, and he's going to get back to doing that this season, and is working as hard as he's ever worked. He is on a mission. He said he's got more numbers in his head this year than he's ever had before about goals that he wants to set for himself. I think the guy's possessed, and I don't think I'd want to be a quarterback facing him right now.
Yeah, I honestly got the same exact impression. I was going to say that he just sounded like a man on a mission this year. Like, he understands. He said, he's like, the first 3 years of my career has been very up and down, but I know what I expect of myself, and I expect to get double-digit sacks every single year.
Yeah.
He's only gotten that once. And, I mean, from the way he was talking, he certainly expects to get that double-digit number again this year.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he might not be the only one on the Giants' defensive front that is aiming and has a realistic chance at reaching that double-digit mark. I mean, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but you got 4 guys that would not surprise me at all if any of them or all of them, probably not all because that would be a lot, but if any of those 4 hit double-digit sacks, would it surprise you? No.
No. Final thought on him, and then I open the floor to you just to piggyback. He said he watched every snap that he took last year on film, felt there were 4 or 5 plays where he got a half a sack where he should have finished it and gotten a full sack. And then he said there were probably another 4 or 5 plays where he was in the backfield and missed the tackle. And he's like, that's got to get fixed. You know, I can't leave those plays on the field. The guy's on a mission. He's motivated. Was there anything else from the players you wanted to mention?
I guess the only other thing with Jameis is anytime, it's every single time he was asked a question and he gave his answer, didn't it sound like he was like giving a monologue kind of? He sounded like I don't know if politician is the right way to put it, but like
no.
Every single answer, it was like he was ready to give like a full.
He was very heartfelt
speech.
In every answer.
Yeah.
Yes, but I thought it was genuine.
No, 100%.
That's why I wouldn't call him a politician.
No. That's why I was like, I don't think this is the right way to put it. But I just every time he started speaking, I'm like, this sounds like just like the beginning of like a long monologue. He's just very well spoken, and he with that attribute with his big personality.
He's captivating.
Yes, and he says everything with just the biggest smile on his face.
He
does.
Well.
Like you can tell that this man just loves the sport of football and is truly grateful that he gets to make a livelihood out of playing a sport that he clearly loves so much.
All right, real quick, we're going to get to our phone lines at 201-939-4513. I just want to mention the Giants Huddle podcast is up there on all your favorite podcast platforms. Again, all kinds of long-form interviews with Giants and NFL personnel. I go to you once again. Matt, is there anything up there that they need to know about special today that makes it different?
I don't think there's anything new today.
Nothing new yet today.
Not yet.
All right. Usually within 48 hours or so, something else is always dropping.
There might be something later this afternoon, but nothing yet.
Okay. All right. So that's where we stand with that. John does a great job of corralling those folks. The Giants TV app, it's free. You can get it on your phone and get all the different highlights and stuff and all kinds of goofy things that we talk about here at the facility, as well as some of the clips of some of the plays that we have discussed. So you get to see the pictures of some of those outstanding pieces pieces of athleticism by the New York Football Giants. Season tickets for the 2025 season, they are available. You can catch the Giants at MetLife Stadium. With a membership, you'll also stay connected all year long, not just on game day, with exclusive member access and benefits. To learn more about a New York Giants season ticket membership, visit giants.com/tickets. Also, a programming note. Tomorrow, we're back at 2 o'clock on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Again, moving the time because of tomorrow. The day 2, which is the final day of the veteran minicamp. Then they set everybody off for summer break. Also, as a reminder, tomorrow, for those folks in New York, on WFAN here in New York, 101.9 and 660 AM, John Schmelk and I will do a complete minicamp recap tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on the Fan in New York, WFAN tomorrow night, 10 p.m. live on 66 and 101.9 FM. Having said all of that, I believe we've got all the promos out of the way. Oh, no, there's one more. This is the Giants Podcast Studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. Like Kayvon Thibodeau says. Keep getting better. So does Russell Wilson. In fact, they all say it. They're all buying in. They're all buying in.
That's what you love to see this time of year.
Uh-oh. Well, now we're going to have to take it down a notch.
I haven't heard from this guy in a while.
Well, we're going to start the show with our first call of the day for a guy who never buys in. Charlie from Portland, you're first on the show. Hello, Charlie.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey, Paul, I take care of my grass, too. So I just want to let you know.
I love taking care of my grass. It's something my father instilled in me. It's a big thing. We mow our own lawns in my family.
Hey, yeah. I mean, I got a bocce lawn out here. You should come up.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm impressed.
Hey, excuse me. Look, of course, Thibodeau has, he's all gung-ho. He wants to get paid.
Of course.
This is his time. If he doesn't show up, he ain't going to get paid. So, of course, he's going to be determined to do this stuff, right?
Well, yeah. I get it.
Yeah, so,
and he didn't shy away from that, by the way. He said, if I do better, everything will work out better. And that's as far as he would go in terms of the contract situation. But to make it clear for people, Charlie, who don't understand, the Giants did pick up his fifth-year option. But quite frankly, it's usual business for teams before that guy gets into play in that final year to extend him, if they're going to extend him.
Right. And also, I mean, he knows, too, that teams don't usually pay three guys on the defensive line a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
You're already paying Deck. You're already paying Burns. It's going to be very hard to pay him. So, I think he knows that too. So, I'll just end that with that. Now, what I want to talk about is, Dable was talking about he's doing more 7-on-7 because Russell likes 7-on-7s.
Not entirely. That was not the reason he stated. He stated it because he thought it was better for all of the guys on offense. Not just Russell, but it's better for Winston. It's better for Dart.
More of it. That's what I heard.
Well,
so all
Charlie,
I'm trying to say is
go ahead.
I've never seen a game where we've played 7-on-7. So 7-on-7, there's no offensive linemen.
Right.
There's nothing. All you got is wide receivers. D-back can't even touch them because there's no contact.
Charlie. Wait a minute. You're criticizing that. No. Wait, you're missing the point. These are OTAs. There's no contact anyway.
I know.
So line play is worthless. So why should they add more line play?
Not only that, but today's practice, I believe there were four team periods. Charlie, there were four. Charlie,
big deal out of touchdowns when people are playing 7-on-7.
Yes, because that's what they're doing this time of year. What else would we have to talk about?
There's nothing else to watch, Charlie. Honestly, there's nothing else to watch. You want us to go outside and look at the wildlife in the swamp?
Should be hitting every pass, don't you think, when they have no pass rush?
No, because everyone on the other side of the ball is paid to be a professional football player just as much as the quarterback is.
Yeah, but they can't touch the wide receiver. You have 5 seconds.
Charlie, you've been listening. Charlie, hold on. I appreciate every single thing that you're saying, but I have said on this program, ever since we started this program, that when you have these mini camps and these spring drills, take it with a wheelbarrow of salt. Not just a grain of salt, but a wheelbarrow of salt. I've been very upfront in saying that. So why are you coming at us now? This is crazy.
Well, I don't know. I think Matt thinks this is
No,
great.
he doesn't think that.
Charlie, anytime I've talked
don't
about
know.
anyone playing well over the last few weeks, I've literally said this phrase so many times, take it with a grain of salt because there's no contact and it's OTAs. I think I've said that at least 4 times per show over the last few weeks.
I'm not going to let you blitz him. I'm not going to let that happen.
And Charlie, today there was 4 team periods, I believe. One of them was 7-on-7.
Right.
It was a short, early one. Everything else was 11-on-11.
Yes.
Every other day, maybe there was one day where they did the first opening 7-on-7 and then came back to a 7-on-7 later in practice for 1 extra period. Other than that, it's been a maximum of 1 7-on-7 period a day. It's been mostly 11-on-11.
And furthermore, Charlie, if you're listening more closely, you would hear how I've explained more than even the rest of our crew. I don't value the sack in these drills.
Yeah, I know.
I don't.
I heard you say that.
I think that is, I'm sorry, but I think you guys overplayed that.
I said it before when I was talking about Abdul Sack. I said, but there's no contact. The offensive line can't touch him, so take that for what you will.
Yes. I don't even
could
talk
sack
about them
somebody
though,
doing
because
that.
I don't think there's worth. I agree. There's nothing. It's worthless. We could talk about the athleticism that we see, but to even say sack is worthless. I agree with you. I see it a little bit lesser than my other cohorts, but that's okay because they also understand there's not much value in it. I get that.
Hey, can I say something about
Yes.
the undrafted wide receivers?
Sure.
That, were showing out. You know how many times we had wide receivers play really well in preseason and OTAs, and they
Sonoris
never made the
Moss
team?
comes to mind. Terrific all preseason receiver.
I know.
And then never did much during the regular season. I know.
So,
I get it.
I think you should slow the roll on these undrafted free agents.
Well,
Charlie, we talk about what we see. We're not going ahead and saying, oh, this guy's going to have a 15-year NFL career. We're saying he had a good practice. He's been good the last couple of weeks. We're talking about what we see at practice. I don't know what you want us to do. Just not mention plays because it's an undrafted rookie?
I understand, but I just to me, this is all fake. This is like everyone's in shorts. Nobody's doing anything.
But Charlie,
There's no
here's the
pass
problem.
rush. There's no hitting.
We could give eyewitness accounts on this program, and if you so decide that you don't want to pay attention to it, you don't have to listen to the program. If you don't want to know what's happening on the field, then don't pay attention.
Yeah, it's either we talk about what we see at practice or we do more blind ranking shows and have more fun, goofy shows like that instead of.
Don't do that again.
Okay, so then we're gonna talk about what we see at practice because that's actually at least some level of actual football.
No, I understand. I understand that.
Thank you.
Hey, look. I just think one thing I liked was Dable. Was it Dable? No, it was Shane. He had an interview with Carl Banks and Papa.
Yeah.
And he talked about DeVito a lot. And
Tommy's had a good spring.
I think he really likes him, and I don't know how they're going to keep him on the roster. If they put him on the practice squad, who knows? He might not be there long. But the guy's stepping up, and I hope somehow he makes the 53. I don't know how, but I hope he does.
All right, Charlie. Thanks
guys.
for the call. All right, take care.
Thanks for getting me all riled up, Charlie.
I'm telling you. 201-939-4513. We have put an asterisk next to all of these things that we have talked about numerous times. I don't know how much more clear we can be.
Literally, we've used the phrase, take it with a grain of salt, at least 50 times in the last 3 weeks.
I think the one thing that I will say, okay, and it's what I look for at these practice sessions. You gain more by the negatives than you do the positives. In other words, and I was talking to Jonathan Casillas at practice today, as a matter of fact. And because he said to me, he goes, what do you mean by that? And when I explained it to him, he goes, I know exactly what you mean now, and you're right. Here's what happens. When you're watching one of these sessions, what you're trying to really find out, are there any red flags? Do you see guys who look lost, who don't appear to know what they're doing? They're not playing confidently. They're constantly talking to the coach, or the coach is constantly talking to them. You can tell from their body language if they're not doing well, or if the coach is really angry and basically ripping them you-know-what because they're not following directions and they're not doing what they're supposed to do. You can see if a guy is constantly dropping passes in no-contact drills. You can see if the quarterback is constantly missing his target in a non-contact drill. There are things you can see that will light a red strobe that will say, uh-oh, that's not really good, because it should be a given and it should be an automatic. That's a warning sign. That's not something you want to have happen. That's what these practices are about. It's not about all the good stuff because, that's all automatically going to translate in September. No, absolutely not. But what you don't want to see, that's what it's about. What you don't want to see are screw-ups. You see screw-ups out here. Now that could bode badly for your team moving forward if they can't even get some of the instructions right now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the most important part of these spring practices, these OTAs, minicamp, it's just to get the team ready for when they arrive for training camp. It's not the first time that they're doing, football circumstances with this year's roster. They now have had 3 weeks of OTAs. This week, the 2 days of minicamp, there was, quote unquote, the football school. That was phase 2 of the offseason program. All of these phases is just to get the team ready. So when they come here at the end of next month, they are ready to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Because when training camp starts, as you guys all know, that is the actual, wind up to the regular season. Those practices, every one of those practices matter.
Yes.
Not that these don't, but those ones matter more because it is the actual ramp up to the regular season, to the games that actually count. Right now, all of this work, all of these, the great plays that we talk about, the good quarterback play, wide receiver play, whatever. Of course, it's great to see. You'll like it more than the alternative, as you were just mentioning. But the whole point is just to try to get Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart, Tommy DeVito on the same page with all of their playmakers. And the offensive line, too, for those 11-on-11 drills. They might not be fully blocking, but they are still, basically, minus the contact part, doing what they would be doing on a regular play, even during these OTAs. So that is the main goal of this, is to just get ready. So when you arrive at the end of next month, everyone on this team is ready to hit the ground running and really get ready for the season.
The 2 parts of the 3 things that a coach requires on every play are doable during these drills: alignment and assignment. Those are doable. Okay? That's what these players are getting graded on: alignment and assignment. The 3rd part that a coach demands on every play is execution. Now, execution is an incomplete grade because there's no contact. That's the incomplete grade. But alignment and assignment, you get guys out here during the spring drills, if they're not screwing up, they're getting check marks on those boxes. That's good. It may not carry over to the season. It may not mean automatically 10 wins, but it's better to have the check boxes than not. That's the whole point. We go to somebody who knows all about this stuff. Coach Marvin's on line 3. Hi, Coach.
How you doing, Paul? How you doing, Matt?
Great to talk to you
Good.
again.
How are you, Coach?
Yeah, I'll let these guys get you riled up.
Don't you like how they do that?
Just Charlie.
Yeah, and I understand it. And I always say Charlie, the other one, Wilson, they have some good points, but I think they just go overboard with some of their points that they have.
Huh? Okay.
And it's necessary to have OTAs. I mean, we didn't have OTAs, but the way the rules were, we couldn't do any hitting the first week.
Mm-hmm.
So we had walkthroughs, and Paul, you described it pretty perfectly. We're trying to make sure everybody gets lined up right, And when we're calling plays, can they run those plays in a manner that we want to run them?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost trying to teach a child how to drive a car. And if you're trying to teach someone 16-year-old how to drive a car, where do you start? You start in a parking lot somewhere. First, you got to get them understanding the car before you can get them moving anywhere.
Very good. I like that.
And then the next, what you do is, okay, you're ready to start driving the car. What we're going to do, we're going to go somewhere where there's not a lot of any traffic at all. So a lot of times you take them in a parking lot, in a mall area where there's a lot of space and they can't hit anything. And then once they can figure out how to use that, how to get comfortable driving the car, then you say, okay, now it might be time for you to get on the road a little bit, which is in town, in a town area somewhere, go a little bit of traffic. You're not going to take them right on the highway in the first day you start trying to teach somebody how to drive. You're not going to take them in the middle of New York City and try to teach them how to drive. You got to go through steps. So these steps are what these teams go through. And you got to remember, Wilson, this is his first year here.
Yes, it is.
So he's got to get used to those plays. So he's got to get used to the guys running routes. And the only way you can see it sometimes is without it being cluttered, especially if you're throwing the ball. So 7-on-7 is good. It's a practice. It's almost like a walkthrough during the season. I mean, there's times we go through the season. You want to report on what we're doing in a walkthrough, you can do it. I mean, I don't have no problem with that. But it's a walkthrough that we're going through. So we have to keep going through that until I can get them comfortable running those plays, until I'm ready to run live. And that's the part I'm talking about. We driving in the parking lot, driving in the neighborhood, but when it's time to hit that
Coach.
highway,
I really do. That's good.
We better be ready.
That's good.
I think that's an analogy that they probably need to understand what it is. I think they're just hearing what y'all saying, but they're not listening to what you're saying. They hear Matt, you say, oh, that could have been a sack, but, your grain of salt. They don't hear the grain of salt. They only hear you said sack, and they leave it as that, and they go with that. So, I mean, I think people sometimes just need to calm down a little bit with this and, save themselves a lot of headache. It's not worth all that talking. But I think Charlie them do it to get. I don't know if you can make them happy. If I listen to them all the years,
Coach, it took you this long to figure that out.
No, but you try to wait and see. I remember he calls sometimes, and I heard y'all say, you know what, that was an intelligent call. That was a good call.
We try to give him every chance to come out of the quicksand, but he just keeps struggling and sinking further and further.
I love Charlie. I love Wilson. But what they do is they keep us on our toes, and that's what they do. But they probably need to take a step back, and it's going to be hard to satisfy them because I don't think. I mean, I'm sure they wasn't satisfied the years we won the championship because we wasn't great teams coming into the playoff and all those Super Bowls we played in. I think we're underdogs in every one of them, I believe.
Yeah, but Coach, I got about a minute to go here. So if you have something that you wanted to talk about, please give us a quick minute. I know you spent a lot of time on those guys. Well,
only thing I want to do is I was game one. I was in the game one, invited to the NBA championship. First time ever been in a professional championship game. My kid, Mark Dagnall, congratulating him. He was my tight end in high school. He coached at Oklahoma City. And I just want to just throw out that I'm proud of him.
Cool.
And I'm rooting for them to win tonight. And I want to just real quick these last 10 seconds. I had a female, Gia, at the gym. I just want to give her a shout-out because it's nothing more – I love nothing more than talking sports with a female, and she actually knows the game. And I was just proud.
I'm sure she'll enjoy that, hearing that too. Thank you, Coach Marvin.
All right, guys.
Be well.
Take care.
Thank you, Coach.
201-939-4513. We get females on this program.
Yeah.
They call.
For sure.
But I guess down where Coach Marvin lives, maybe they're just not very plentiful. I don't know.
The one thing I gotta
Yes.
slightly disagree with just what he was saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
Those guys will never be satisfied. There's one thing that satisfies everything. We say it all the time.
The W.
Winning.
Yeah, the
You
W.
win games, there will be less calls like that. At least I would hope so.
The great Band-Aid, as they say.
Winning cures everything. So
Yeah,
let's
well,
get back to it.
But you know what? If Charlie were a Patriots fan, right? If you were a Patriots fan, imagine the pain he would have felt when the Giants beat them in Arizona. Right? Perfect regular season, and then somehow to the Super Bowl, wah, wah, wah. Whammy.
Great season. All
Sorry.
that matters is that last game.
You know, that would have been like something to behold. But Charlie is a Giants fan. We're grateful to have him as part of Giants Nation, and we hope that he has a much better season this year. That'll do it for today's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. Once again, folks, are you back with me tomorrow?
No, I think you're
got
with
Lance
tomorrow.
Okay, so I'll have Lance with me tomorrow at 2 p.m. live Eastern Time to do another 1-hour show as we recap day 2 of Giants' mandatory veteran minicamp, the final day before the coaches and the players take their summer hiatus. But don't fret, folks. We're still going to be here on Friday. We'll do another show on Friday, and we'll be here next week as well. Then down the road, we're going to have a little bit of a hiatus ourselves. But that'll do it right now for today. For Matt, I'm Paul. We'll talk to you again next time.